Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another medical projects webinar. Thanks for your patience there. We're just waiting for the last few students to join the meeting. So we're a couple of minutes past 7 now. So I guess we will make a start. Yeah, welcome to another medical projects webinar. My name is Mark Williams. I work here at Medical Projects. And for those of you who maybe haven't been on one of these webinars before, don't know who we are and what we do. Essentially, we run work experience and courses to help students with applying to medical school. And we also run lots and lots of free events, lots of free webinars, YouTube videos, blogs, articles, things like that, just to help students navigate the process of applying to medical school, because we know how difficult and challenging it is. And today's webinar, we're going to look at the timeline of applying to medical school. It's a new year. It's a good time to kind of start making plans for the next few months or for this year. I know a lot of people do kind of New Year's resolutions and things. So this is a really good time just to reflect on what you need to do this year and what you need to achieve this year. So I think it's a really good time to start looking at the things you need to plan out, especially. And I think the best thing to do is basically to have a timeline. And so that's why we wanted to do this webinar, is to lay out a timeline for almost the entire medical school application process. I'm sure we'll have some students on the webinar that are in kind of year 11 and still just starting their journey to applying to medical school and maybe don't know all the steps that they need to take. I'm sure we'll have some in year 12 that are much more aware of what they need to do. And we'll probably have some year 13s as well who are getting towards the end of that process as well. And, they might have just had interviews or might have interviews coming up, and we'll be looking at, getting offers soon as well. So effectively what we're going to try and do is just look at that entire timeline for you today. Just before we get started as well, a couple of housekeeping things to do as well. I know most of you have probably used Zoom, but we'll be using a couple of the different features on Zoom as well today. We'll be using the Q&A function, which is just in the bar at the bottom. So we will open it up to questions at the end of the webinar, because we think that we just want to give students the opportunity to ask the questions that they want and get answers. So with the Q&A function, there's an upvote system. And essentially, if somebody's asked a question that you want answering as well, you can just hit the thumbs up button and it will raise it to the top, and we can actually see the most popular questions. And it means that we can answer as many of the questions as possible, or at least most of the popular ones, because I'm sure we'll get probably 1,000 questions tonight and we won't get through all of them in 20 minutes at the end, but we'll try and answer the most important ones for you. Cool. Right. Okay. Let's have a look at the next slide. What have we got? Fine. Let's have a look at who is actually here. This is just a completely anonymous poll, but what it does, it gives us, it helps us work out who's watching the webinar, and we can kind of pitch where to pitch the talk, essentially. So let's find out who is watching tonight. Okay, you can see just over 800 votes are in so far. So we'll just give it another couple of seconds, see if we can get over 900 votes in. Cool, yeah, we've gone through 900, still a couple more coming in. Right, what I'll do, I'll share the results. It's just anonymized, so it doesn't say who specifically answered them, but it groups it together. So 90% of people watching this today are in year 12, which is fantastic. 8% in year 11, so that's absolutely amazing as well. If you're in year 11, you're way ahead of the curve there. You're already finding out information. Year 12, I understand why you're watching this webinar, because you've got a lot of things that you actually need to do in this year. And year 13, 2%. I guess most of the year 13s already know this process, and it'll just be those final few details that we can maybe iron out for those year 13s watching as well. Okay, cool. What have we got on the next slide? I think this is a great time to introduce Minnie, who is going to talk to you tonight about this timeline that she's put together. Hi, Minnie, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm just going to have to just check my sound 1 second, Minnie. Let me just change that over so I can hear you. Can I hear you now?
Hopefully.
I can, yeah, perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I completely didn't hear what you said the first time, but I hope you're well anyway.
I'm good, yeah.
But you've been through this process, and this is the timeline that you've put together just to try and help everybody along that journey. We want to go through that timeline today, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a busy time, especially for those of you in year 12. It's sort of all kicking into gear. You're starting to think about, oh, if you're going to apply to medicine full stop, and then where are you going to go and all your exams. So hopefully this will sort of clear up when this all happens and the busy times, what you need to prepare for, what you need to start doing now. And hopefully we'll give you a clearer idea of the next steps towards going to medical school.
Okay, sounds great. Well, I'll leave it with you for now, and then I'll start kind of collating the Q&As, and we'll come back and have maybe 15-20 minutes of questions at the end, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's great. So, hi everyone. Thanks everyone for joining us on this webinar. It's good to see so many people here. It's really exciting time for everyone. Obviously really difficult with COVID, but the process is pretty much, as normal. So hopefully this will be a good overview of sort of what goes on in sort of in the lead up to year 12 for some of you year 11s that are here, what we're doing during year 12, sort of, seeing where you want to apply, getting ready for your UCAS application, and then when it comes to actually sending in that application and doing your final A levels and seeing, are you actually going to go? So it's really exciting, and hopefully this timeline gives you a good sort of starting picture of when things happen. Obviously you've got your year 11 sort of thinking, okay, am I going to apply to medicine? Which A levels are right for me? Moving on to year 12 and sort of thinking, okay, yeah, I actually am wanting to do medicine now. Where do I go next? And then your actual application in year 13. So yeah, it's dead exciting times. So yeah, is medicine right for me? I think that's the question you first need to ask yourself before going on this journey. Is it what you want to do? It's a long course, 5 or 6 years. Don't just apply because your parents have said so, or you think it's a good job. Like, hopefully it should be something you're really passionate about, something you want to learn about. There's a lot of learning, a lot of information to take in, and it's a tough course. So you want it to be something that you really enjoy and you're going to commit to, for the foreseeable future. And, obviously you're going to have a career in medicine for hopefully until you retire. So you want it to be something you really enjoy. So in terms of answering that question, there's some things that you can do to sort of clarify. Getting work experience. You can start as early as year 11. There might be some age restrictions somewhere where you have to be 16. But see in person what a doctor actually does. It's not, it's not the same as Grey's Anatomy. No one's running around doing surgeries. It's not always emergencies. There's paperwork. There's, there's difficult times. You're breaking bad news to patients. It's not always what it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's an amazing job, but I think you want a realistic view of what medicine is like, and is it really what you want to do? And speak to medical students. So it's great that you come today. You can put some questions in the Q&A, but see what their experiences are like. Is it something that sounds like you want to do? Did they enjoy it? What were the parts of it they enjoyed? Can you get any advice from them? And looking at the university websites themselves, they offer loads of great advice in terms of there's videos of what the courses are like, how it's structured. Are they lecture based? Are they more sort of problem based learning? And seeing what sort of courses suits you, and whether that would be something you'd enjoy doing for the next 5 or 6 years. And so obviously some of you still in year 11, I don't know if you've picked your A-levels by now, you probably have, but just making sure you've got the right ones if you haven't. Typically you need biology and chemistry, although some work might just need chemistry and another science. So make sure you've definitely got the right ones before sort of cracking on with A-levels, because you don't want to be stuck in a position where, oh no, you've picked the wrong ones, you really want to go to Manchester but you've got the wrong A-levels. So it's really worth clearing up what they want and have you met those. And things like general studies, critical thinking aren't accepted by a lot of them at the moment. So work experience, I think this is probably one of the most important things, because it's going to make up a lot of what you talk about in your personal statement, your interviews. So it's always good to start this off early. You can do this as early as year 11 and throughout year 12. You want it sort of have it done ready for writing your personal statement right at the start of year 13. So shadowing is always really great. Try and get in touch with maybe some of some doctors, or there may be some programs within your local hospital that you can sort of get in touch and say, I'm really interested in medicine, is it possible to shadow you? And it's a really good way, so you just sort of follow them around, see what jobs they do, maybe you're interested in surgery, might go and get to see something. Yeah, it's a good way to get just a bit hands-on, maybe see some patients, chat to them, and it comes across really well. And volunteering, just got to demonstrate your commitment to medicine. And you can do this pretty early on as well in year 11 if you want to. Doesn't always have to be within the NHS, it can be just a caring role. So care homes would suffice, hospice work, even working in a charity shop, as long as you're sort of public facing, you're chatting to people, you're being personable, then they'll appreciate that, especially with COVID. And it's so difficult to sort of get work experience. They'll definitely accept a lot of that. And yeah, as I was saying, COVID's meant that they've been a bit more relaxed about what they're looking for in terms of work experience. So one thing I found was really good was Observe GP. A lot of them are recommended, where you can watch videos and see how a GP clinic works and write some reflections on that. They love reflections in medical school. Write down your thoughts, and maybe you can use that in your personal statements. And got some courses at Medical Projects. I don't know if Mark, you wanted to sort of mention those.
Yeah, I'll just quickly mention so we have the GP live course and the ward round live course, and we set those up just because students can't get any experience at the moment due to COVID. So the GP live course is where we teach students about how to take a patient history, and they actually speak to patients and take patient histories and form diagnoses with one of our doctors. And the ward round live is actually similar, but it's all based on a ward, and again, that's about just helping students get experience and insight when they can't go into a hospital. Those courses are both completely virtual, completely online.
Yeah, it'd be a really great experience. So have a look at those. And just being able to demonstrate an insight as well. What does the job of a doctor involve? What's the training like? Do you have a realistic expectations of what the job is? You haven't just watched, as I said, Grey's Anatomy or Casualty on TV. You actually know what it entails. Open days, so sort of getting to end of year 12 now, summer holidays between year 12 and 13, and this is when you're really sort of thinking, okay, medicine's what I want to do, where should I go next, and what are the courses like? So at the moment, obviously with COVID, it's looking to be all virtual. So, but that doesn't mean, it's necessarily worse. I mean, it's obviously disappointing that you won't be able to get to see the campus and the lecture theatre you might be sat in, but it means you can go to more. Sometimes you're stuck. You may not be able to get days off from sixth form. So it's great being able to do that from home, and you can go and travel all over. Even, it means if you're from Northern Ireland, you don't necessarily have to, fly across an ocean to go and see the medical school you want to apply to. So there are pros to it as well. Some questions you might want to ask: how's the course taught? There's like lots of different structures to all these different courses. As I was saying, lecture-based, problem-based learning. Some might have clinical experience from the start, some might be preclinical and clinical. So some people prefer, getting all the science early and then going on to clinical placement. Some like it all mixed in. So it's personal preference, really. Are you able to intercalate? So that means taking a year out to get a BSc or a master's. are you able to do that on that course? Is it something you really want to do? Is there something you're particularly interested in, maybe researching? Have a look at that. And yeah, as I was saying, clinical experience from the start. Some people want that, some people don't. So it's worth asking. And yeah, speak to current students. They're going to be, the ones you want to hear from. They're the ones that are, experiencing it at the moment. What's medical school been like for them? Have they enjoyed it? What are the pros and cons of that university? So you're sort of narrowing down your choices there. And thinking, is this medical school right for me? And accommodation in the town and city itself, you're going to be there for the next 5 or 6 years. It's a long time to spend in one place. You want to make sure that you like it. Do you want a big city? Do you want a small university town? You've got to think about that as well, because you're not studying 24/7, as much as it might seem like that sometimes from the outside. Like we do have a life as medical students. So yeah, have a look at that and see whether it's somewhere you could see yourself living. And the UCAS convention as well, it might be running. So even if you miss maybe a virtual open day or a talk, there's still an opportunity to chat to university staff at that as well. So now we're getting on to start of year 13, and this is where it really gets real. You're applying to medicine. This is what I want to do, and how do I go about that? So first thing to think about is which exams do you need to do. So there's 2 entrance exams, there's UCAT and the BMAT. And difference is that UCAT's a bit more, it's all about practicing really. There's not much knowledge required for it. It's quite a tough exam, whereas the BMAT is a bit more sort of science focused, you're writing essays. So see which medical schools accept which exam, and you need which exam for. And the thing to think about as well is that UCAT, sorry, it used to be called UKCAT, which is why I'm probably going to call it that, but UCAT, you do before you send off your UCAS application, whereas the BMAT you'll do after. So the UCAT, you know your result. So if you've done well, that's great, apply. Whereas if you've put down 4 BMAT choices and you don't even know your results, it's quite risky. So have a think about that. Maybe you want to do a mix of both. You've done really well in UCAT, maybe you'll apply to all UCATs. It's up to you, but just have a think about it tactically. And so probably want to start thinking about this during the summer of year 12. And you want to start practicing as well. It's quite a tough exam. You want to do well. This is the big first hurdle before you're applying. So you want to do as well as possible to give yourself the best chances of getting in. And yeah, as I was saying, the results narrow down your choices. And I think we've done a webinar before, and there's articles that we've got on the website about what to do if you've done well, what to do if you haven't done as well as you thought, because there's options for both. And then, so we're now on to proper start of year 13, sort of mid-October, and this is when you send off your UCAS application. So medicine, dentistry, vet med, and Oxbridge, you all send yours off earlier than the rest of the courses, which have their deadline in January, I think. So it's quite a stressful time, and don't be disheartened if you're panicking doing your personal statement while they're just relaxing doing theirs. It's definitely worth just working hard at that in September and getting everything sorted and ready to go. So your personal statement is the next big thing, writing that. And my big tip is to give yourself plenty of time. Keep rewriting and drafting, because it's not going to be perfect first time round. And make sure you've got all your work experience and all your reflections from that ready to go into using that. And have you done extra reading? Can you put any of that in? And then this is when you're finalising your 4 choices as well. So yeah, as I was saying, make sure you think about it tactically. Use your UCAT score to sort of guide where you're going, or you've got a really big preference, then go for it. And think carefully about your 5th option as well. Some people don't use it at all, but I mean, I definitely used it. There might be some courses that offer you a chance to, so say you're doing biomedical sciences, to transfer onto medicine after the first year, which are extremely competitive. But you know what, if you don't get in, it's your insurance, and there's no other way of getting in, then it's worth getting top of the class and transferring onto medicine. If you think you can do it, then that's something worth considering. And will it allow me to apply to postgrad medicine? So say you don't get the grades and you go to your insurance, are you able to apply to medicine after that with that degree? So have a look at the websites for that. And then we get on to sort of December, March time, and this is when interviews happen, which is sort of the next big scary step. And as I was saying, don't be disheartened if you don't hear straight away. Some people will hear it within a few weeks. I didn't hear till a while down the line, so and I still got in, so you might not get into everywhere as well, so just keep your hopes up, keep working hard on your A levels. There's people applying to other courses that will be getting offers the next day, but just keep plodding along, and you'll get there hopefully. And so during this period as well, keep up with hot topics. So reading the BBC website, we did a webinar on this a few weeks back of sort of key things you want to be reading about at the moment, sort of COVID, Brexit, things like that, the vaccine. And just so, if you get an interview, you're ready to talk about that sort of stuff. And practice with teachers as well. I know it's hard at the moment with you not being in school, but I'm sure if you drop them an email, they'll be willing to do maybe a Zoom call with you and do a practice one. And practicing the common questions as well. Why medicine? Why not nursing? Getting those down and, practicing verbalizing them out loud, not just writing them down, because it's very different actually trying to get it across in person to someone that you want to do medicine. And time between interviews and offers will vary. Tends to be probably around 4 weeks on average, between when you actually do your interview and when they either give you an offer or rejection. But I mean, this massively varies. Some might give you an offer a week after, or it might be a couple months after. So, keep an eye out. Have a solid, secure email that you know how to get into, because I've made that mistake. Just have like a professional email ready to go so that when the time comes that you'll see it. And then we go on to A levels and results day. So this is the exciting bit. It's the final hurdle. Most important thing is just get those 3 A's. Even if you didn't get an offer, get those 3 A's, because there's always a gap year. You can always reapply. But I mean, obviously, if you've got an offer, you get your 3 A's and you're all set to go. And then if you didn't get in, apply next year. Take a year out, get some more experience, get some more work experience in your application, do some more reading, maybe do better on UCAT. There's lots of options if you don't necessarily get in. And also, even if you miss one of your A's, worth ringing up as well. Some of them will let you in with AAB, and have a result if things don't go so well. There's always your insurance as well if you use that, and clearing. Always good to have some phone numbers at the ready.
Can I just ask what was your backup plan? Did you have a backup plan?
Yeah, I did. So although my 5th option, I applied to do chemistry, got into that, but I didn't get into Exeter for medicine, but they said you can do biomed, and then after the first year, as I was saying before, you can then sort of apply to transfer onto medicine. So I had my first choice, which was St Andrews, and then Exeter for biomedical sciences as my backup.
Yeah, I think it's good to just to have that plan ready, isn't it? Just know what to expect and just be ready to put plan B into action and not be too disheartened about it, because you've got plan B ready.
Exactly. And I suppose with this year, the A levels aren't really going ahead as normal. So hopefully you guys will have a bit more of a heads up than, we did going in on results day. So, but it's always really good to have a plan, because, there's not long between like results day or whatever they're doing this year and then actually going in September. So September. So hopefully if you got in, you're going to medical school. Enjoy your last few weeks of holiday. Don't be panicking about learning, anatomy or physiology ahead of time. all the first few weeks there will be catching everyone up, so everyone's at the same level, and sort of building those sort of baseline knowledge and that foundation to practice. So enjoy it. Don't think about learning anything. Just, you know, just take up some hobbies, go running, because like this is your last chance to sort of relax before you go. And check what you need for your course as well. They might say that you need to buy things like stethoscopes, lab coats if you're doing sort of dissection, things like that. Always worth checking, and don't just go back them straight away. Look at specific brands that they want, because sometimes they might have a preference, say you need this one, and you don't want to go out and spending £60 on a stethoscope when it's the wrong brand. And don't rush out to buy textbooks as well, because you know they'll have secondhand sales when you get there. Students will often give you advice saying, don't buy these. I was told on the first day, please do not buy any textbooks. The only one you might need is the anatomy one. So I saved myself a lot of money there. And have a look out for Facebook groups. A lot of times you can sort of chat and I suppose you can't really meet up with people at the moment, but at least you can meet people online who might be on your course. Some people to say hi to on Zoom maybe, or you could be in flats with them. So have a look out. Sometimes the uni themselves will link them to you when they send out sort of your pre-moving out their emails and things like that. And yeah, enjoy it. It's medical school, it's exciting. So yeah, it's a long journey, but you earned your place there if you've got in, and even if you didn't, there's still loads of options. And yeah, just work hard.
Yeah, I think it's a really good like high level overview. I know that we're not going into lots and lots of details about every single stage, but it's just, this webinar is literally just about, here's the timeline, here, like, know what's coming up, be ready for that, start planning for that, and you'll need to do more research about that next stage that's coming up specifically. So I know there's a lot of points in there, but what I'll quickly do, I'll quickly show you on our website where to find our past webinars, because we've done a lot of webinars on each of those individual kind of topics and areas. So I don't know, can I share my screen? Is that possible?
Just I stop sharing mine.
So I'll show you two things. So this is the YouTube channel. We put all of the webinars on the YouTube channel. So it's just youtube.com. Then it's /medical projects official. And actually, if you go down to you've got application support, and in here, there's all the videos about how to get work experience, because I know that's going to be a popular question. How to choose the perfect medical school for you, biomed versus medicine. There's videos on all of these individual elements. And then there's also all the past webinars that we've done, and we've done some around, you know, your personal statement, work experience, interviews, all of those types of things. And then another thing to show you on the website as well, because I know some people might not have seen our website. Under this free support, you've got the upcoming webinars and all the past webinars. So whether you go and find them on the YouTube or you find them on our actual website, they're all there. But it give more detail into all of those elements of the timeline. So hopefully that will be helpful for some people anyway. Right, I'll stop sharing my screen, and then we'll kind of open it up to questions. And I think what we'll try and do, we'll probably have maybe 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. We'll aim to finish at about 10 to 8, just so we don't take up too much of everybody's evening. So down at the bottom, there's a Q&A function. If you type all your questions in there, it means we can see them. And if you want to use the upvote system as well, just so we can see the most popular questions. Right, okay, so the most popular question so far is, how can I make my application for medical school stand out? Pretty broad question. Lots of answers to this one, but what would your say top 2 tips be for this one?
I'd say probably the one big thing, a lot of people have the same grades and similar UCAT scores. The thing that's going to set you apart will a lot of the time be your personal statement. So it's getting that work experience as much as you can and demonstrating that commitment. So if you can volunteer for a year or something like that, in a caring position, that's amazing commitment there. And just, yeah, really just making sure that personal statement is perfect and well written and shows that you're really, really driven. And then I'd say just smashing that UCAT as well. That's gonna sort of escalate. A lot of them rank on UCAT score, so just practicing that over summer, just doing as much as you can and getting the exam technique down for it, that's going to put you at a great advantage for when you actually send off your applications.
That leads very nicely into the
Ooh.
next question, which is how do I prepare for the UCAT/BMAT?
So I didn't do the BMAT, so I'm probably not going to be the best for giving advice. But on the UCAT, it's really all about exam technique. It's about timing and sort of knowing what you're meant to be doing each question. It's really weird. There's a lot where you have to read massive paragraphs and answer questions like comprehension questions. There's like a maths bit. There's some patterns that you have to look at. It's all about just practicing those, because I mean all the questions are structured the same way, and getting your own sort of technique down by yourself, maybe a book. There's lots of resources online as well. And just start early. There's no point in leaving it till, you know, a week beforehand. They start around sort of summertime, start like September time. So even starting in June, just doing a half an hour every day, just keep topping yourself up.
I'll turn my microphone on, that will help.
Yeah.
Been using Zoom for like best part of a year now. I'm still managing to
God.
make mistakes. So the next question is, what should I include in my personal statement? You mentioned that was kind of your top standout point. So what do you think is really important to have in there?
So obviously work experience, that's probably the most important thing. That's probably what they want to see the most. Any extra reading that you've done as well. Have you done maybe an EPQ? You've done some research in something you're really passionate about. And getting that, I think that first paragraph is really, really difficult. I think that's the hardest bit, where it's like, this is why I want to do medicine. So you know, maybe write some reflections out after your work experience, and just sort of write out all your thoughts about why you want to do medicine, and really just keep drafting and drafting and drafting that first paragraph until it's just absolutely perfect. Like bam, 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 they've got a summary of me as a person and why I want to do this.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think, yeah, leaving that first paragraph till the end and just come back to that, because it's an absolute
difficult.
nightmare
It's
to
awful.
try and start with that. So just write everything else and then come back to that. I think that's a
Definitely.
top tip. So the next question down is, this leads on actually. So when should I start writing the personal statement?
So I'd say wait until you're into year 13, because I know a lot of schools will probably offer you lots of advice on what to do with your personal statement, what you need to include. So don't, you know, start it, because probably I thought I'd done a really good one at the start, and my teacher just went all wrong. So wait until you hear from someone that, you know, really knows what they're doing and knows what the universities are looking for, because you don't want to waste your time doing loads of drafts of something you think's, you know, perfect, and then they're like, okay, this is not what they're looking for. But don't leave it till last week, definitely. So I'd say probably mid-September time, give yourself a month maybe.
Okay, cool. So another question, I think this is about work experience and what to do around work experience considering COVID. Obviously, this is difficult for everybody at the moment, isn't it?
Definitely. So a lot of the universities have said that they're not expecting to see you shadowing in person, or, you know, getting loads of work experience in hostels and GPs, because you're not able to. They just want to see that you've committed to understanding medicine as a career and the course. So even if you've maybe spoken to a doctor, you've had a chat on the phone with them about their experience, and or even just a medical student, and just showing that you've shown understanding and interest into the subject. And then the virtual stuff as well. So there's loads of stuff online that you can do. Maybe if you watch, some videos as well, seeing what, being a doctor is like, and reflecting on those. Just as long as you reflect, I think they'll be happy to see that you've taken interest in it.
Yeah, again, on our YouTube channel, we did a webinar and presentation on how to find work experience during lockdown. We did that during the first lockdown, and now we're in lockdown 3, but it's all still exactly the same. It's all relevant. I think there's some links to kind of podcasts to go on to look at, some books to look at as well. So I'd recommend, if anybody's looking at work experience options, have a look at that YouTube video. Again, similar theme to work experience, but are we disadvantaged in terms of work experience due to COVID? I think you mentioned in that point there, universities are just treating everybody equally for this.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've all pretty much said that we don't expect you to have, the full work experience that you would normally have, just that you've used your initiative to find out what medicine's like, and that you've really considered why you want to do it, and shown that you're driven to do it.
Yep. How do I include further reading in my personal statement?
Oh, quite a difficult one. I suppose it depends on the further reading that you're doing. But sort of maybe reflecting on sort of the if you're reading maybe a book, so a lot of the books by sort of Atul Gawande, who's really good, or Adam Kay's books, sort of reflecting on maybe how they felt, and maybe if you've sort of link it on to if you've had a similar experience and then said, okay, they felt like this and I felt like this, and this is why I want to do medicine. Say it's been you had an experience with a patient, or you witnessed something on one of your online things. Just sort of linking it all in together, but always sort of saying how you felt, how can you reflect on that. It's really difficult because I suppose it's a bit different as well if you're reading like scientific literature, but just showing that you've got interest, and how does that link into why you want to do medicine. It's just difficult question to answer, but yeah, just reflect.
So another one here is, how much do GCSE results matter to medical schools?
I think it depends on where you apply. I think some of them obviously take them into account more than others. I know people like unis like Cardiff, I think Birmingham as well, Oxford look at sort of how many A-star grades. It's changed now, isn't it? 9s and 8s you've got. But then there's others that completely don't look at them and will only look at your UCAT and your personal statement. So it's worth having a look at which unis look at it more. Say you've done really well, prioritize those, and if you haven't maybe done as well, which unis don't look at it as much, and looking at those.
Yeah, and each university will tell you if they take it into account. So you should look at all the university's entry requirements to start with when you're going through this process. Once you get to the end of year 12 and you're starting to do your applications and things, you really should be using a table or something to compare the universities and entry criteria and see where you fit. And they'll tell you how important the GCSE results are. So you'll find out that way as well. So this is a difficult question to answer as well, because I guess it depends. But what are the best schools for studying medicine and for living? So I guess that's not just medical school, because everybody gets the same degree essentially. But this one has the "and for living" part on the end, which is a really good thing to ask.
Yeah, I think they will all be good. The thing with medicine is that it's a very tight-knit course, and it's very different to the other courses. I remember I have a lot of friends from other courses who was like, oh, medicine, you'll have your own sports teams, but it's true that all the medics will go out on nights out with each other, like that are organised by the medical society. At Manchester, we've got the scrub crawl and things like that, pajama parties and things. So I think wherever you go, there will be nightlife that is, both you can do independently and that is organised by the medical school itself. I think it's worth looking, as I said before, do you want a big city where it might be a bit more anonymous, but you've got more options, you've got loads of sports going on, you've got clubs and things like that, or do you want that sort of little university town experience where you can go out in the evening and everyone that's there, and everyone's going to be out on the same nights, but it's a bit more limited in terms of what you can do. So yeah, it's worth having a think about that. Like, do you want the big city, or do you want that tight-knit experience? But all of them will be great for uni life and living, because it's medicine and party hard, isn't it?
And it's university, and
Mhm.
even if you end up going to study biomed or something else, you're still at university, and
Exactly.
it's still the best time of your life.
Yeah,
So
it's great.
you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Any book recommendations? I know you mentioned a couple before.
Yeah, so Atul Gawande is really good. War Doctor by, I think it's David Knott. Really great one at the moment. I'm reading Unnatural Causes at the moment by Richard Shepherd, which is about a forensic pathologist, about all the crimes he goes to, and sort of how he looks at it from a medical point of view. And that's really good. I think there's a lot to sort of look at and reflect on in terms of how medicine works, and how it can be used for not just healing people, but for other things like solving crime. It's pretty cool. And obviously, if you're really interested in certain topic areas, then there's scientific articles online. If you go on like PubMed and just type in a topic that you're kind of interested in, have a look on there. BMJ is great as well for some articles, and I think there's quite a bit of student things on there as well. So yeah, just have a browse.
Yeah. Somebody asked about, I'll probably answer this one a little bit more, but does attending a medical summer school boost your application? There are lots and lots of medical summer schools. Some medical schools themselves have camps that you can go to and summer schools you can go to, which is just fantastic. If you can get into it to one of those medical school ones, that's fantastic. There's a lot of kind of paid options out there for medical summer school courses as well. We have one, so I know I'm biased when I'm talking about that, with it being kind of one of our courses, but essentially the way we look at the summer school courses are, we just put everything in 1 week, and we bring doctors to you, we bring the medical students to you, we bring all the advice that you need and squash it into a week for you, and give you all the work experience and give you all the insight and teach you how to reflect on everything in a week. So I know I'm biased talking about medical school courses, but I think they offer value because they put it together in a package for you. So in answer to that question, I think they're fantastic because you can condense that learning into a week. But equally, you can go and do all of those things for free independently and spread them out over the course of your year 11 to year 13. So it's more about making sure you hit all of those elements. But if you choose to do that in a week, then that's absolutely fine as well. Cool. So I'll just find a couple more questions. What I want to do, I'm going to scroll down, because if somebody asked a question later, I'm going to see if we can get some of those, down at the bottom. Do we need to attend as many online work experiences as possible, or do we just need to attend one?
I'd say, yeah, you probably will be fine with one or two. I don't think it's worth it, because there's only so many, so much you can write about and fit in your personal statement and talk about in your interviews. You kind of saturate yourself then. So it's worth going to a couple of really good ones and getting loads out of it. I mean, maybe you could go to one, and if it's not what you wanted, go to another one, and see if that's any better. But don't go to everything, because it's not going to be worth it. And you've got studying to do, you've got other things to be doing, and it's worth using your free time wisely in COVID, and sort of enjoying it, just being at home and stuff. So it's up to you. I mean, if it's something you really, really want to do, then go for it. But I'd say that get a couple of really good ones and then be able to write about them well in your personal statement.
Yeah, I think that's it. Quality over quantity
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to courses and work experience and things, and being able to just put the absolute key best parts really, really well into your personal statement and into interview answers, and you'll be sorted. Cool. Right. So this is just a nice question to finish on. So what have you enjoyed most about medical school for the last few years? And we'll end on that, because it's a really nice summary question, I think.
It's going to sound so cheesy, but those really good interactions with patients where you're like, oh my gosh, like someone's, bit down the dumps on the ward, and you go and chat to them, and you make their day because, they've not got anyone else to talk to, and you're good company for them. That's always really nice. And you can always tell they sort of brighten up afterwards. So it's that you don't do that much, in terms of actual sort of healing people, but in terms of like making people feel better, that's always really rewarding.
I think that's a really nice way to end this evening. So thank you very much for taking time out. I know you've got exams this week and next week, so to take the time to come and speak to the students, I really appreciate it. I'm sure they really appreciate it as well. So a big thank you from me and from the students to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Hopefully it was helpful to everyone. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks.
Cheers.
Right, okay guys, thanks for joining us. That's the end of the webinar for tonight. The next webinar, if you're interested, is on the website, and you can go and sign up for that one this evening if you want. Again, it's all free. We'll send a recording of this webinar out to you in the next couple of days. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you on some more webinars soon. Thanks for joining us.